So, hi Steve, welcome to Conversations with Kaufusi.
Thanks, Mayor. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you here. It's just a real pleasure to know that you're still hanging in there with us, even though the airport's going through some crazy times with this pandemic. And whoever thought we'd use the word pandemic in our lifetime?
I used to play a game online, a little game on my phone that was called Pandemic, about how you try and wipe out the whole world. And I never thought we would actually be living it in real life. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's really thrown us all for a loop, but we'll get through it. We're figuring it out. But most importantly, you are over the airport. You've been involved with the airport for how many years? Tell us just a little bit about yourself. That's where we should go with this. Tell us a little bit about your history.
Steve Gleason. I've been with the city for 26 years. I've been with the airport for 25. Prior to that, I was with economic development for 5 years. So I've been there for a long time, and it's a completely different airport than it was when I started. But it seems like every time we get reaching certain crests at the airport, something happens. So we were anticipating it, not this, a pandemic.
So you were anticipating the pandemic.
We were anticipating something, not a pandemic. The first time we got close was 9/11, when we got rolling. Next time was 2008, and the crash 2008. Took us a while to come back out of that. And then the airport was really rolling again, and the pandemic hits, and we feel like we're going to come out of this just as strong as we came out of the other two. It'll take some time, and the economy will have to recover, but I see the airport continuing its trajectory.
Yeah. So tell me about the pandemic. What has it done to the airport? And talk me through, if I bought a ticket and was doing a flight, what would that look like with the pandemic now? So give us the rundown on how COVID-19's impacted our
Number one,
airport.
it's impacted Allegiant, our airline, as it's impacted every airline pretty heavily. So pre-pandemic, we were running 16 to 19 flights a week. We were going to 3 destinations, LA, Tucson, and Mesa. At this point, we're going to 1 destination twice a week. The load factor, or the number of passengers on the aircraft, tends to be about 40 to 45%. And I know that sounds terrible, but if you look globally at what's going on in the airline industry, we're actually pretty high. Those numbers are staying pretty solid. Allegiant is very comfortable with those numbers in the situation that we're in right now. So Allegiant's number one. One thing Allegiant really wanted me to try and help get the word out about is, if you are in an airplane and there is room, they will try and space everybody out. They are cleaning all touchable surfaces. And the main thing they want everybody to understand is, with the new aircraft, the cabin air is turned over every 3 minutes. So it's whole new air you're breathing.
Because that's not what we were raised on thinking, right?
Exactly.
Just circulating and breathing the same air and everyone's air. And
well, I was raised in a time when if you flew in an airplane that had a smoking section. So it was very obvious that the air was not getting recirculated very well. But at this point, it's recirculating very well. So that's the airline. As far as the airport goes, we're trying to take some precautions to keep everybody safe. We're listening and adhering to CDC guidelines. We're staying 6 feet apart whenever we can. And if we can't, then we are wearing masks. What we do is, after every single flight at the airport, we go through and we spray down the entire terminal with alcohol, so that we kill anything that's there. On top of that, we have our cleaning crew coming in and cleaning the terminal. That's in addition to us spraying down the terminal with alcohol, just to make sure that we're not leaving anything lying around. We've also put signs up, and we've asked that if you're not a ticketed passenger, we don't want you inside the building at all. Everyone is to wait in their cars if they're waiting for someone to come home, or if they're dropping somebody off. They're to wait in their cars. So we've tried to limit the number of people in our terminal, because as we've talked about for years and years, the terminal we have is too small. So if we had a full flight, there would be absolutely no way we could social distance in that terminal. So in some ways, it's a benefit that those flights are not as full, because we can separate people and everybody can have plenty of space.
yeah.
Which is why we're building the new terminal.
Which is why we're building our new terminal.
Correct.
So let's talk about that.
Okay.
We just broke ground in November with our big bang celebration, and like you said, sure enough, we break ground on this huge projected project, and now we're in a pandemic. But Tell us what's going on with our new terminal we're so excited about.
Well, like I said, you don't anticipate something like this, but you also don't anticipate that it's going to go perfectly smoothly.
Yeah.
So we're always planning for those types of things. The terminal is continuing its progression as planned. Right now, we're in a fortunate situation where we have to give it some time anyway. So we have to put a surcharge of soil on the ground where the terminal will sit and let that soil compact. Some people thought that even the earthquake might have helped that a little bit. I don't think so, and I would certainly never want us to have an earthquake. But that settling process has to take place, so we have to give that some time. While we're waiting for that, we're continuing to work on the ramp that will sit out in front of the terminal. So the concrete portion, full speed ahead. The other portion, we would have had to wait whether there was a pandemic or not. And so we're looking at the other side of that pandemic. It shouldn't have slowed us down at all. We'll just keep right on going. But like we said, the terminal is going to give us a lot of additional space so that if we had something like this and my phone's ringing. It's Rick Schroeder.
Things happen.
That's right, things happen. If we had a situation like this with the new terminal, we would have plenty of room for a full flight to space apart because we're going to 4 gates. We're anticipating 160 passengers per gate, which would be a full flight, which gives us plenty of room for us to take even 2 flights under circumstances like we have right now. So all of that's going to be great and do nothing but help the airport. So we're looking at coming out on the other end of this when the economy starts ramping up and being ready to handle Allegiant coming back to at least the numbers they're flying now, and hopefully giving them the ability to add more flights with more gates.
So the new terminal, it hasn't been slowed down by this.
No.
The projected opening date, I mean, that's really hard to say, right, with big projects, but give us a 6-month window of when we're projected to have our new terminal up.
We're
and
looking
running.
at spring of 2022, so we're about 2 years away. And so we're just going to keep going, and we're hoping to have it, well, we know we'll have it open by then. We're hoping to have it full, the day it opens, but again, that will take some time as well. We're going to have to get the airlines, we're going to have to recruit, we're going to have to let them know that we can now handle more traffic. So, yeah, 2 years. 2022, we'll have a new terminal.
There's so many things coming about in 2022. That's going to be a huge year for the city with all these new exciting projects.
Yeah, everybody's planning on being done in
know.
2022, right?
Yeah, that's
Well, hopefully that's the case. Then more people will want to fly and be flying in and out and coming to visit their soccer players on our regional
we've got a
sports
lot.
park and coming to visit the new temple that's being built. And
Yep.
hopefully the airport just plays right into that as a way to move people in and out without them having to drive. Give them a great,
seamless as we possibly can do it. That's
absolutely.
the goal.
And if it all happens on the same day, that would even be better. We could have fireworks.
Huge coordination on that one.
It would be a little tough.
That would be huge.
I know you could pull it
Oh
off,
my
though,
goodness.
man. You could do it.
Better start working today.
That's right.
So just to wrap up, is there anything else we need to know about the airport and the restrictions with COVID-19?
As far as the COVID-19 restrictions, just make sure that if you're not ticketed, don't
show up.
Don't come into
Yeah.
the terminal building. Wait in your car. There's plenty of parking because we don't have as many flights, so you can park close to the terminal. Don't do that. Also, be ready for a lot of construction. We have 2 major hangars being built right on the pathway to the terminal, so be ready for that. And as far as anything I want you to know about the terminal is I just want the citizens of Provo to know that we took them. They were at top of mind, and you know this, when we were designing this terminal. It's built to be family friendly. It's built to be missionary return friendly.
Yes.
We have a huge reunion court. We're not calling our passenger waiting area a passenger waiting area or a sterile area. We're calling it a traveler's commons because we want it to be a place where people can talk once they can get within 6 feet of each other and discuss travel. There's going to be a family area we're calling the clubhouse because we just want it to be fun for kids so that parents that are traveling can keep an eye on them with and still let them get some of that energy out. There will be a mother's lounge for mothers who are breastfeeding or just need some privacy. There will be a business center for those that are traveling for business. We've really just tried to look at everything that is Provo and incorporate it into this building. So in 2 years, I hope everybody will be really excited to come down and try it.
I think people are going to be so pleasantly surprised at the attention to detail and Utah friendly how we've made this. I mean, it is just as we've walked through the small details, it's going to be amazing and beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, you were just really a huge player in the design of it, and it is a beautiful building.
Well, I don't want to say that I was the huge player in the design of it, because then if somebody hates it, they'll blame it on me. It was a team effort. There were a lot of little suggestions that came from different people, including yourself. Suggestions from Dave Decker, our Public Works Director, that we not have TSA be the first thing anybody sees when they walk into the terminal building. Great suggestion. We did that.
Yes.
The idea that it flow properly. From Brian Torgerson, and then that we try and tie it to the look of the downtown. I'll take some of the blame for that one, because I really wanted.
You did push for that. That was a good push, though.
I really wanted it to look like downtown Provo. So, hopefully everybody will be as excited about it as I am, although I'm not sure how they could be. So.
Yeah, you're for sure the most number one excited. I might be number two excited.
All right, you're number two.
So just before we sign off, I'm thinking of all your years of experience out at the airport. You've got to share like one of your top stories.
Some of them I can't.
You've got to give us one. Just give us one
top
of your
story.
fond memories, or something that happened at the airport that you'll never forget.
The storm of August 1st, 2005. Because I'll remember that because I was in a building that blew down.
There you go.
That's when we had that microburst come through. And we hadn't read, the tower had just opened. And so we hadn't really read through all the books on the tower yet. We didn't know that at a 75 knot wind, they were supposed to evacuate the tower. They stayed in the tower the whole time, and our wind meter broke when it got to 119 knots. So we know the wind was stronger than 119 knots. Blew down the building around me.
And you lived to tell about it.
Yes, our plan was to dive under the fire truck if it all went bad, but luckily it didn't touch the bathroom. So the other employee that was there at the time, Dan Shumway, and myself, we just huddled in there and waited for it to pass.
You survived it.
We survived it.
Well, we're
actually
glad
not one injury at the airport. It's amazing.
Well, thanks for everything you do, and thanks for hanging in there with all of us for all these years and making our airport as great as it is. And it'll be a good day for you when we cut that ribbon on that new terminal and get those flights coming and going.
It'll be great. Lifelong Provo resident. I can't imagine working anywhere else.
Thanks so much. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us.